Good evening, everybody. Good evening, gents. Hope everyone's doing well. Um, and yeah, it's been a bit busy. I know I've been quiet of late, but yeah, it's been a little bit busy for me since things opened up. Excuse me. I've had quite a few things to take care of. There's been a lot of projects in the pipeline that are finally now happening. Which means it's been a bit of a pretty busy period, but it's been very rewarding. It's good to get back out there. I'm sure most of you are excited about actually getting back out of there. The situation has changed a lot for quite a lot of countries, particularly with vaccines being available, etc. It's but yeah, we have another video here, and this is to do with a couple of questions that have been raised. This one in particular will be for questions that have been raised by, and sorry if I say these names wrong, but Michael Lux, and Bolaji Adebanjo. I hope I've said that right. This has also been raised on one of the forums as well. But it's to do with the Wi-Fi issue. So the connectivity dropout on the Mackie DL series mixers. As many of you all know, I did a couple of videos before. First one sort of saying, look, this is what I think the issue is. The second one providing some sort of solution, but you know, the issues are still ongoing, etc. So as far as I'm aware, the issue's not been resolved. So we still have issues with connection to the Mackie Mackie DL series mixers. As far as I'm aware, this is for the 16S, 32R, and 32S, where your signal drops out and you can't reconnect. So you come to the screen and you just keep seeing the icon flash from green to yellow to red to green to yellow to red. We've all seen the problem. We all know what it is. There's been a lot of responses. I want to say thank you to everybody who's responded, given some input over the period of time. It's been quite helpful to other users to know, one, you're not alone. Two, what people have been doing to overcome or at least get through the issue now. As far as I know, there hasn't been a fix that has been deployed by Mackie, but I have watched a few videos in recent times where they have actually spoken about the issue. So this video is not gonna, if you're looking for an outright solution to the problem, one that's been tried, tested, and 100% works, you're not going to get that here, but you will get an update on some pretty good workarounds that are available to limit the issue occurring, and things that you can do to just bolster yourself up and ensure that you are in a good position. So I'm just going to get straight into it. So to start off with, what people have advised, in fact, Mackie, one of the videos I watched that Mackie were doing, I think this is one of the church worship videos that they were doing. Sorry about that. Right, so they mentioned, at least the staff at Mackie mentioned that they were aware, and I'm paraphrasing, so this isn't a quote for quote. Bear in mind, I watched this quite some time ago, but they acknowledged the fact that there were connectivity dropout issues when using the inbuilt Wi-Fi router within the actual device. And what they've said is, look, we've done this for you, or we've sort of put in a router inside the actual device, but bear in mind to keep costs affordable on these mixes, because obviously the R didn't come with an inbuilt router. But they said to keep costs affordable with these mixers, they didn't sort of splurge out and put in, the most high-tech dual band router, etc., because it would have bumped up the cost of the device. And I'm pretty sure everybody here, myself included, are all excited about the fact that the price cost for this particular mixer, with the opportunity of having master fader, which is the thing I love the most, the price was great, So you're going to expect issues with things that are made at that particular price point. However, one thing they did stress in the video is, look, if you're doing small events, etc., or you're not in an area that's heavily crowded with a lot of wireless traffic, this router should hold its ground pretty well. And for the most part of it, it actually does. I'm not. This isn't a paid product placement or whatever. I don't represent Mackie or the DL series. I just happen to be one guy who owns one, and yeah. So they, for the most part, if you're in if the circumstances are right, you shouldn't see any or many dropout issues. I know there are one or two individuals. In fact, it seems to be the same two individuals on the forums. No matter what, if every time someone new raises this issue, as you know me, I'm all for community. Let's help each other find ways of working around issues, this and other issues. But these two individuals seem to always come on and they're like, one of them always says something along the lines of all the issues that are experienced with Mackie, they are 100% always found to be user error. And he says the same thing every single time. And it's a little bit annoying because it's kind of counterproductive in terms of having the communities there to support each other. And he'll swear that he's never had any dropout issues before. He's given his configuration, which is great. But there are other people who have the exact same configuration who have pointed this out to him, that look, we've got the exact same configuration. We've applied the settings that you've stated. Good on you. You've never had an issue, but we are having issues every now and again. But yeah, despite the fact that Mackie themselves came out and said something, like I said earlier on, similar to what I said earlier on in their video, these, and it seems to be the same two individuals, but they also keep coming out and say, oh no, there's nothing wrong, it's user error, but anyway. So anyway, I'll get into some of the solutions that have been presented by other people on the forums who have been kind enough to share some stuff that they've been doing. So one of the things that you'll find has been pointed out that people can do is to buy these extensions. So, okay, just a disclaimer, first of all, this particular one is not one of the recommended ones. I just quickly went on the internet and I just typed in something very quickly just so I can give you a demonstration of what individuals were talking about. But it's basically replacing the antenna that you currently have on the Mackie digital mixer series with something a little bit more robust, a bit more I was going to say the word expensive, but as you can see, these are not that expensive. But there are people in the forums who've shared links to ones that they're using, and they have found that there is significantly less instances where the Wi-Fi signal is dropping out or their connectivity is lost. So this is one such example, and it'll be something that's similar to the antenna that you have. Dual band, etc. But it'll look something like this, and it plugs into the same place. And obviously there's so many different types that you can get. Go away, do the research that you want. But the idea is, if you're in a more busier, there's a lot more activity, Wi-Fi activity going on in the venue that you're in or in the area that you're in. Getting a stronger router limits the amount of times you'll have these issues. So if you're going to have them 10 times within a year, this will come down. These are tried and tested by users who have been kind enough to share their experience, and they've been kind enough to actually, put links and stuff. Like I said, this one that we're looking at here is not a link that's been shared. I personally have not tried this, but I have had a lot of feedback come back from individuals who have had this issue and who have gone away to find ways of resolving the issue. And it can be quite costly when you're troubleshooting something like this. Because I have other mixers and digital mixers that are far more reliable, I didn't go and spend the money to troubleshoot because I just take my other mixer. However, I did do one event recently, and this is in the last month or so, where I actually used the DL32S that I have. And what I'll do is I'll play some clips from it. I'll play a clip from the concert that we did. It was purely an online-based concert. Though there were about, I don't know, 10 people in the building, this was purely for online. So I was doing the mix for online. And I'm not the one, just to disclaim, I'm not the one who was handling the camera work. I was just there to do sound. Yeah, we used the DL32S. We used about 18 channels, but we did have a Behringer, I think it's the X Air series, the 18, X Air 18 or whatever they call it, on standby, just in case. Because we were also concerned about losing things, so we had a setup on that, and then obviously we had a setup on the DL. But it despite the fact that I did have some dropouts towards the last session, rehearsal session, it did actually pull through. So it worked out in this instance, and I took the gamble. It was great. But yeah, this is one of the solutions. The other solution is to get a very reliable router. Now, like I said, in terms of the routers, there are, if you look at the forums, if you look at the groups where you have Mackie users, particularly the DL32R users, where you have to have a router, and even the S users, there are individuals who will post the router they're using, say they've never had any issues or they've had very minimal issues, and then there are other people who will then repost the exact same router and say, I've got that exact same setup, here's my setup, and it's been identified that it's a similar setup, but they're also experiencing the issue. Which is why I've always said I think the issue isn't to do with the actual physical hardware. It's an internal issue, because if you look at the connection, particularly if you log in using a laptop, you never lose the Wi-Fi connection. There's never a time the bars disappear or drop. It's always in the app where the issue occurs. When you look at the actual Wi-Fi connection, it's always strong, it's always there, it never drops. So this is why I think the issue is within the actual app itself. But like I said, I'm not an expert, and we're all sort of trying to troubleshoot this. But it's been put forward that if you have, and I tend to agree with this as well, if you have a strong enough router, whatever you want to call it, then you should find that you will limit the amount of instances. I can't say you'll completely solve the issue, because as I said, I've seen, based on responses given by other people, I have actually seen that there are people who have the same setup, same router, still experience the issue, but it's a lot less. Excuse me. So at the end of the day, it's all going to boil down to this. It's going to boil down to what kind of Wi-Fi traffic is in the area that you're currently in, whether you're doing gigs remotely or whether you're doing them in a fixed location. As I said, the first indication that I got of how the issue can be resolved was somebody kindly sharing an experience they had at a conference, and it was a speakers conference. It was just people going up and speaking and then coming down, and they constantly kept changing the actual speakers. So every single time a new person would go up, as you know, as a sound guy, you'll have to sort out the EQ, make sure that the mic is tailored to that individual's voice for clarity. If you're a professional and you're getting paid for it, you would do that. If it's not a professional job, then you probably won't care if there's a bit of a echo or a buzz or a hum on the line or whatever. But they said that they asked one of the individuals after they'd lost all connectivity. They asked one of the individuals who was hosting the show to give an announcement to ask everybody to turn their phones off or put them on airplane mode. And thankfully, because it was like an elderly generation of individuals in the crowd, people obliged, and they were able to recover connectivity without having to switch off the device and carry on as per normal. So, it's an indication there that depending on the amount of traffic you have in the area, it would affect you more or less. And it's quite possible that the individuals that say they don't have or have never experienced issues, if you're out in the sticks and there's no real signal degradation or whatever, then yeah, fine. You're not going to get a lot of issues with connectivity because there's not a lot interfering with your actual thing. But if you're in the in a busy city, smack bang. I know every time I drive down to London, which I hate doing, I hate driving in London, but every time I'm down there, my GPS loses its signal. And I know it's not the same thing, but all I'm trying to say is if there's so much congestion in the air and the airwaves, then it will cause issues, and it's similar to this. And that's what happens. So anyway, the two sort of, I'll say, tried, tested solutions available now would be to buy something similar to what I've pointed out. Obviously do your research and make sure you get the right one, but it's to buy something similar to that. Where are we at? This. Or pick out a router that is a high quality router, one that has been built well. It's probably going to cost you quite a bit of money. Dual band, make sure it's dual band. Pick one of those out and use that, and you should ensure, because I think one of the people who commented was saying he's sitting on the fence as to whether or not he should or shouldn't buy. It looks as though connectivity dropout would be an issue for him if he was to buy one. Unfortunately, there's no sure way of determining whether or not you will have connectivity issues. It seems to be hit and miss. But the vast majority of individuals say that they have had some sort of degradation. Mackie themselves have said, look, we've put in an appropriate Wi-Fi antenna for you. It's not the most expensive, but it is appropriate. I tend to agree with them. And they've said, look, if you want something more reliable, just go out there and buy a reliable router, which I agree with them as well. I mean, when Behringer released their XR series, I think they call them the XR series, the little small ones. I think they do a 12 channel, an 8 channel, and an 18 channel. But when they released those were terrible when it came to the inbuilt Wi-Fi router. And in comparison, compared to all the reviews and the issues I read back then, the Mackie's is actually much better, far much better. And then I've got another mixer I use. It's another small one with an inbuilt router. It's the RCF M18. That thing is bloody reliable. Forgive my French, but I have never ever had any issues with connectivity dropout or anything with that device. It is rock solid. I would stake my life on that thing. But if you look at the size of the antenna that they have on that one, as opposed to the tiny little thing that Mackie put on this, and I know it's not all about size, but that's a massive antenna, and it's brilliant. It never drops out. So yeah, this would be the solution, but I can't possibly tell you whether or not you should or shouldn't pick up a Mackie DL series mixer. As you know, initially when I was going out and working with different churches, etc., helping them to live stream, over the pandemic period, I was recommending the Mackie DL series mixers. The price range was great, but having been called out at 6, 7 in the morning to say, look, can you come, and I had to drive to another city just to help get this thing back up and running. I thought, I can't keep doing this. So I switched, and of late, we've been installing M32s, and yesterday I was at another place. We were doing the Q16 series from Allen & Heath. I'm not a massive fan of Allen & Heath, but we were doing that. It's different mixes for different places, PreSonus, you name it, but I stopped recommending the Mackies for the one reason, and the one reason alone was because of the dropout issues. But I will tell you this, having said that, of all the mixers, the best one I find to use is the DL32S. Master Fader 5. What an amazing product. I wish I could have that app for every other mixer available. Honestly, I can't. I absolutely love Master Fader 5. But and the mixer itself, and like I said, I'll play you this, or I've probably already put this snippet into this video, but
we always say salvation is personal. This is what it means. I will put you in front of my destiny. You are all, you are all, you are all. I will make room for two, God. For two, you and me. My best friend cannot fit there. You are all that matters. I am an
you'll hear some of the quality, and that was just raw, straight from the mixer, using all of Mackie's DSP out of the USB, and then I just handed the USB to the person who was running the video, because it wasn't me, it was a different organization doing the video for this concert. So I just handed them the USB the other end. I said, yep, stick that into your computer setup, and you're good to go. And I mixed that audio from another room, so obviously I couldn't do it inside the same room. And yeah, it's just a testament to how great, or what kind of quality you can get for the price range, and that's where the money is. The price range, or the cost of this device, compared to what it can produce, how can you say no? How can you say no? So if you're willing to, spend a bit more on that external router, I'm not saying you're never going to have any issues if you have the external router, but there are ways in which you can sort of prop yourself up with it, switching to the 5 gigahertz as opposed to using the 2.4, as you can see, or buying a stronger antenna, if that works for you, if that's better. You can mitigate a few things. You can have several devices connected, so like what I did on the night. So if I lost connection on one of the others should still have connection. And ideally you'd want to have several off there, because you want to be able to monitor certain things on one tablet, and handle certain things on another tablet, and then use one tablet for something else, and then use your laptop for something else. So the more devices you have connected, they drop out. The annoying part is when, and this happened during rehearsal as well, a couple of the rehearsals, is when the musicians' Wi-Fi drops out, and they're constantly coming to you to say, it's not working, and there's nothing you can do. Obviously during rehearsal, I'd save everything, switch it off, switch it back on. It happened a few times. So which is why we had the Behringer on standby. But yeah, I'd save it a few times and then, switch everything off, switch everything back on, and most, in fact, all of them got their mixes back. At one point, we had one poor guy, I think it was the bass player, having to mix for two of the other musicians who couldn't get in. It was just it's when you start to have these issues, that's when you think to yourself, why don't I just get an M32 or but it's Master Fade. I love it. I've got a soft spot for it, and I could go out and try them or buy a very expensive router, but for the amount of times I take the DL32 out, no, it's not going to be worth it for me, to be honest. I've got other mixes that are far more reliable that I use at the bigger events, so I don't want to have to spend that money for a router to just sit doing absolutely nothing for that one event a year, if that makes sense. But yeah, other than that, I think that's going to conclude this video series. I don't believe, never say never. I think what Mackie, or more, if I was at Mackie, what they're more likely to do is, with their next mixer, come up with a more reliable solution. So that, because if this issue appears in their next mixer, their next DL series mixer, then that would be, in my books, that would be an absolute fail. I'm not saying it should be perfect, but I think they will probably do that, and we'll just end up having to fork out more money for the product up front. I, for one, am happy if they keep the Master Fader series going. I, for one, am happy to pay more for a more reliable product, which I can actually use in the field. Because I know if it's reliable, then it just means that when I use it in the field, I'll make my money back one way or another. But I think what Mackie may end up doing is fix the issue in another product, in their next product, as opposed to revisiting existing ones. But that's just my opinion. Like I said, I don't work for them. I haven't spoken to them. I'm just waiting on them, just like everybody else. But that's the route I would go down with Mackie. In fact, I look forward to seeing what else Mackie has to offer, because, like I said, if they can offer something solid and offer it with Master Fader, they would make a much bigger dent in the industry. I certainly would love to see them topple companies like Allen and Heath, just because at least they would do something similar to like what Behringer did. In terms of changing the industry, you have these big companies at the top who are essentially running the industry, but not giving everybody the best functionality experience. Okay, and you need some of these smaller players in the game to step in and say, well, this is how it's done. Make a big enough dent in the industry to force these other organizations to say, okay, you know what? Let's look at our applications. What is it these guys have done? Let's start to streamline this stuff. Same thing happened in the mobile phone industry, cell phone industry, if you're not in the UK, where, I think there were companies that were changing the charging ports for every single phone, so that you were forced to buy a new charger every time you upgraded. And a few companies banded together and they said, no, we're going to make it universal, so that all our chargers are usable amongst our, and that was fantastic. And it forced some of these other companies to say, okay, we need to stop these bad practices. We're putting money in our pocket, but, and it was a game changer. And that's what I would like personally to see in the music industry, because nowadays, as a sound engineer, you go from venue to venue as your freelance sound engineer. If you're not always taking your own equipment, you're showing up and, you're being handed a Q series or an SQ series, or you're being handed something from Midas or Behringer or whatever, and you're having to mix. And it's just all over the place, With one mixer, it's 500 steps just to turn on phantom power. With another, it's just boom, bam, it's done, And yeah, fair enough, you've got great teams working on the applications, etc. But we're not all computer experts. We don't want to have to go through 5 or 6 different steps to do something pretty straightforward. Make it so that it works for us. And what Masterfader has done is it's challenged to the industry standard, and it's sort of said no. There's better ways of doing things, and they've absolutely blown. Yeah, I know people are going to argue it doesn't have as much functionality, etc. Okay, fair enough. I get you, but we want more of what they're offering, is what we're saying. We want more intuitive, more well thought out, laid out systems that work well for people who want to be able to work more better in venues. It's difficult enough on a digital mixer, and I know I'm rambling on, but it's difficult enough on a digital mixer to have that same analog feel if you came from the analog days, and to make the changes you need on the fly without having the extra complication of 5,000 steps just to do something as simple as turn on phantom power. It should just be there. I tap the button, the phantom power is on. I shouldn't have to figure out that, you have to hold this and then move to this screen. And no. It becomes a bit too complicated. But anyway, I think I'm going to leave it at that for this video. I hope it's helped someone. But yeah, if you're probably looking to see if the issue will be fixed for the DL series mixer currently, I don't know. I don't think a solution will be found, or I don't think Mackie are going to throw money at these older mixers. I think they're going to come up with something fantastic in the future. Upgrade Masterfader 5 and give it a whole load more functionality, but then also improve the hardware, if it is a hardware issue as they claim, but improve that hardware so that the platform's more reliable. And with that, like I said, I'm happily, if Mackie release a new mixer, I'll look into it. I'll definitely be happy to put up an upfront fee for the mixer, because I love what they've done so far. I think they should be more prevalent in the industry, and I think that they should challenge a lot more of what's going on. They have no idea what kind of impact they could have if they focus their attention. But the thing is, with Mackie, they do so much. Speakers, this, that. They don't just have one product. But yeah, I think they could be a game changer in the next sort of 5 years or so. Anyway, I'll catch you guys in another video. Peace.